Hello guys. If you hear music in the background, it's just to stop what's it called? My headphones from shutting off because they just do it for some reason. But today I'll be reading you Epictetus, the Encheiridion, right? The Encheiridion by Epictetus, influential historic book. Overall, I think this book is a 9 out of 10 for those who want to like put like philosophy into a practical daily use of life, like applying philosophical wisdom to your life. People that want to like improve themselves. I think this book is a very great book to start. There's this particular saying that I'll paraphrase it, but he basically says that what's it called? Just as you wouldn't let your body get harmed, don't let your mind get harmed, right? And well, that's not what he exactly says, because he says that if somebody gave your body away or something like that, you would be furious, but yet you let your mind be given away or something like that. And so I really like that. Guard your mind. Avoid any self-harm. Avoid any harm to your values. Stay true to yourself. Right. Epictetus is really good with this. Very, very good Stoic philosopher. Enough of me yapping. Let's get into the book, because this is me reading Epictetus to you today. So, all right, let's start. Handbook of Epictetus. Some things are up to us, and some are not up to us. Our opinions are up to us, and our impulses, desires, aversions, in short, whatever is our own doing. Our bodies are not up to us, nor are our possessions, our reputations, or our public offices. Or, that is, whatever is not our own doing. The things that are up to us are by nature free, unhindered, and unimpeded. The things that are not up to us are weak, enslaved, hindered, not our own. So remember, if you think that things naturally enslaved are free, or that things not your own are your own, you will be thwarted, miserable, and upset, and will blame both gods and men. But if you think that only what is yours, and that what is not your own is just as it is not your own, then no one will ever coerce you, which just means no one will ever force you. No one will hinder you. You will blame no one. You will not accuse anyone. You will not do a single thing unwillingly. You will have no enemies, and no one will harm you, because you will not be harmed at all, as you aim for such great goals. Remember that you must not undertake them by acting moderately, but must let some things go completely, and postpone others for the time being. But if you want both those great goals, and also to hold public office and to be rich, then you may perhaps not get even the latter, just because you aim at the former too. And you certainly will fail to get the former, which are the only things that yield freedom and happiness. From the start, then work on saying to each harsh appearance, "You are an appearance," and not at all the thing that has the appearance. Then examine it and assess it by these yardsticks that you have, and first and foremost by whether it concerns the things that are up to us or the things that are not up to us. And if it is about one of the things that is not up to us, be ready to say that you are nothing in relation to me. 2. Remember, what a desire proposes is that you gain what you desire, and what an aversion proposes is that you not fall into what you are averse to. Someone who fails to get what he desires is unfortunate, while someone who falls into what he is averse to has met misfortune. So if you are averse uh, only to what is against nature among the things that are up to you, then you will never fall into anything that you are averse to. But if you are averse to illness or death or poverty, you will meet misfortune. So detach your aversion from everything not up to us, and transfer it to what is against nature among the things that are up to us. And for the time being, eliminate desire completely, since if you desire something that is not up to us, you are bound to be unfortunate. And at the same time, none of the things that are up to us, which would be good to desire, will be available to you. Make use only of impulse and its contrary, rejection, through with reservation, lightly and without straining. 3. In the case of everything attractive or useful, or what you are fond of, remember to say just what sort of thing it is, beginning with the least little things. If you are fond of a jug, say, I am fond of a jug, for then when it will be broken, you will not be upset. If you kiss your child or your wife, say that you are kissing a human being, for when it dies, you will not be upset. 4. When you are about to undertake some action, remind yourself what sort of action it is. If you are going out for a bath, put before your mind what happens at baths. There are people who splash, people who jostle, people who are insulting, people who steal, and you will undertake the action more securely if from the start you say of it, I want to take a bath and to keep my choices in accord with nature. And likewise for each action. For that way, if something happens to interfere with your bathing, you will be ready to say, oh well, I wanted not only this, but also to keep my choices in accord with nature. And I cannot do that if I am annoyed with things that happen. 5. What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about the things. For example, death is nothing dreadful, or else it would have appeared dreadful to Socrates. But instead, the judgment about death, that it is dreadful, that is what is dreadful. So when we are thwarted or upset or distressed, let us never blame someone else, but rather ourselves. That is, our own judgments. An uneducated person accuses others when he is doing badly. A partly educated person accuses himself. An educated person accuses neither someone else nor himself. 6. Do not be joyful about any superiority that is not your own. If the horse were to say joyfully, I am beautiful, one could put up with it. But certainly you, when you say joyfully, I have a beautiful horse, are joyful about the good of the horse. What then is your own? Your way of dealing with appearances. So whenever you are in accord with nature in your way of dealing with appearances, then be joyful, since then you are joyful about a good of your own. 7. On a voyage, when your boat has anchored, if you want to get fresh water, you may pick up a small shellfish and a vegetable by the way. But you must keep your mind fixed on the boat and look around frequently in case the captain calls. If he calls you, you must let all those other things go so that you will not be tired and thrown on the ship like livestock. That is how it is in life too. If you are given a wife and a child instead of a vegetable and a small shellfish, that will not hinder you. But if the captain calls you, but if the captain calls, sorry, let all those things go and run to the boat without turning back. And if you are old, do not even go very far from the boat, so that when the call comes, you are not left behind. 8. Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. 9. Illness interferes with the body, not with one's faculty of choice. Unless that faculty of choice wishes it to, lameness interferes with the limb, not with one's faculty of choice. Say this each thing that happens to you, since you will find that it interferes with something else, not with you. 10. At each thing that happens to you, remember to turn to yourself and ask what capacity you have for dealing with it. If you see a beautiful boy or woman, you will find the capacity of self-control for that. If hardship comes to you, you will find endurance. If it is abuse, you will find patience. And if you become used to this, you will not be carried away by appearances. 11. Never say about anything, I have lost it, but instead, I have given it back. Did your child die? It was given back. Did your wife die? She was given back. My land was taken, so this too was given back. But the person who took it was bad. How does the way the giver asks for back concern you? As long as he gives, take care of it as something that is not your own, just as travelers treat an inn. 12. If you want to make progress, give up all considerations like these. If I neglect my property, I will have nothing to live on. If I do not punish my slave boy, he will be bad. It is better to die of hunger with distress and fear gone than to live upset in the midst of plenty. It is better for the slave boy to be bad than for you to be in a bad state. Begin therefore with little things. A little oil is spilled, a little wine is stolen. Say, This is the price of tranquility. This is the price of not being upset. Nothing comes for free. When you call the slave boy, keep in mind that he is capable of not paying attention. And even if he does pay attention, he is capable of not doing any of the things that you want him to. But he is not in such a good position that your being upset or not depends on him. 13. If you want to make progress, let people think you are mindless fools about externals, and do not desire a reputation for knowing about them. If people think you amount to something, distrust yourself. Certainly it is not easy to be on guard both for one's choices to be in accord with nature and also for externals. And a person who concerns himself with the one will be bound to neglect the other. 14. You are foolish if you want your children and your wife and your friends to live forever. Since you are wanting things to be up to you that are not up to you, and things to be yours that are not yours. You are stupid in the same way if you want your slave boy to be faultless, since you are wanting badness, not to be badness but something else, but wanting not to fail to get what you desire. This you are capable of. A person's master is someone who has power over what he wants, or does not want, either to obtain it or take it away. Whoever wants to be free, therefore, let him not want or avoid anything that is up to others. Otherwise, he will necessarily be a slave. 15. Remember, you must behave as you do at a banquet. Something is passed around and comes to you. Reach out your hand politely and take some. It goes by. Do not hold it back. It has not arrived yet. Do not stretch your desire out toward it, but wait until it comes to you. In the same way toward your children, in the same way toward your wife, in the same way toward public office, in the same way toward wealth, and you will be fit to share a banquet with the gods. But if when things are set in front of you, you do not take them but despise them, then you will not only share a banquet with the gods, but also be a ruler along with them. For by acting in this way, Diogenes and Heraclitus, and people like them were deservedly gods, and were deservedly called gods. 16. When you see someone weeping in grief at the departure of his child or the loss of his property, take care not to be carried away by the appearance that the externals he is involved in are bad, and be ready to say immediately, what weighs down on this man is not what has happened, since it does not weigh down on someone else, but his judgment about it. Do not hesitate, however, to sympathize with him verbally, and even to moan with him, if the occasion arises, but be careful not to moan inwardly. 17. Remember that you are an actor in a play, which is as the playwright wants it to be. Short if he wants it short, long if he wants it long. If he wants you to play a beggar, play even this part skillfully, or a cripple, or a public official, or a private citizen. What is yours is to play the assigned part well, but to choose it belongs to someone else. 18. When a raven gives an unfavorable sign by croaking, do not be carried away by the appearance, but immediately draw a distinction to yourself and say, none of these signs is for me, but only for my pretty body, or my petty property, or my petty judgments, or children, or wife. For all signs are favorable if I wish, since it is up to me to be benefited by whichever of them turns out correct. 19. You can be invincible if you do not enter any contest in which victory is not up to you. See that you are not carried away by the appearance, in thinking that someone is happy when you see him honored ahead of you, or very powerful, or otherwise having a good reputation. For if the really good things are up to us, neither envy nor jealousy has a place. And you yourself want neither to be a general, or a magistrate, or a consul, but to be free. And there is one road to this, despising what is not up to us. 20. Remember that what is insulting is not the person who abuses you or hits you, but the judgment about them that they are insulting. So when someone irritates you, be aware that what irritates you is your own belief. Most importantly, therefore, try not to be carried away by appearance, since if you once gain time and delay, you will control yourself more easily. 21. Let death and exile and everything that is terrible appear before your eyes every day, especially death, and you will never have anything contemptible in your thoughts or crave anything excessively. 22. If you crave philosophy, prepare yourself on the spot to be ridiculed, to be jeered at by many people who will say, "Here he is again, all of a sudden turned philosopher on us. And where did he get that highbrow?" But don't you put on a highbrow, but hold fast to the things that appear best to you, as someone assigned by God to this place. And remember that if you hold to these views, those who previously ridiculed you will later be impressed with you. But if you are defeated by them, you will be doubly ridiculed. 23. If it ever happens that you turn outward to want to please another person, certainly you have lost your plan of life. Be content, therefore, in everything to be a philosopher, and if you want to seem to be the one, make yourself appear so to yourself, and you will be capable of it. 24. Do not be weighed down by the consideration, "I shall live without any honor, everywhere a nobody." For if lack of honors is something bad, I cannot be in a bad state because of another person any more than I can be in a shameful one. It is not your task to gain a political office or be invited to a banquet, is it? Not at all. How then is that a lack of honor? And how will you be a nobody everywhere if you need to be a somebody only in things that are up to you, in which it is open to you to be of the greatest worth? But your friends will be without help. What do you mean without help? Well, they will be without a little cash from you, and you will not make them Roman citizens. Who told you, then, that these things are up to you and not the business of someone else? Who can give to someone else what he does not have himself? Get money, someone says, so that we may have some. If I can get it while keeping self-respect and trustworthiness and high-mindedness, show me the way and I will get it. But if you demand that I lose the good things that are mine, so that you may acquire things that are not good, see for yourselves how unfair and inconsiderate you are. Which do you want more, money or a self-respecting and trustworthy friend? Then help me toward this, and do not expect me to do things that will make me lose these qualities. But my country, he says, will be without help in so far as it depends on me. Again, what sort of help is this? So it will not have any porticos and baths by your efforts. What does that amount to? For for it does for it does not have shoes because of the blacksmith or weapons because of the cobbler. But it is enough if each person fulfills his own task, and if you furnish for it another citizen who is trustworthy and self-respecting. Would you in no way be helpful to it? Yes, I would be. Then neither would you yourself be unhelpful to it. Then what place, he says, will I have in the city? The one you can have by preserving your trustworthiness and self-respect. And if while wanting to help it, you throw away these things, what use will you be to it if you turn out shameless and untrustworthy? 25. Has someone been given greater honor than you at a banquet or in a greeting or by being brought in to give advice? If these things are good, you should be glad that he has got them. If they are bad, do not be angry that you did not get them. And remember, you cannot demand an equal share if you did not do the same things, with a view to getting things that are not up to us. For how can someone who does not hang around a person's door have an equal share with someone who does? Or someone who does not escort him with someone who does? Or someone who does not praise him with someone who does? You will be unjust and greedy. Then if you want to obtain these things for free, then you have not paid the price for which they are brought. Well, what is the price of heads of lettuce? An oboe, say. So if someone who has paid an oboe takes the heads of lettuce, and you who do not pay do not take them, or do not think that you are worse off than the one who did. For just as he has the lettuce, you have the oboe that you did not pay. It is the same way in this case. You were not invited to someone's banquet. You did not give the host the price of the meal. He sells it for praise. He sells it for attention, then give him the balance for which it is sold, if that is to your advantage. But you are greedy and stupid if you want both not to pay and also to take. Have you got nothing, then, in place of the meal? Indeed, you do have something. You did not praise someone you did not wish to praise, and you did not have to put up with the people around his door. 26. It is possible to learn the will of nature from the things in which we do not differ from each other. For example, when someone else's little slave boy breaks his cup, we are ready to say, it's one of those things that just happened. Certainly, then, when your own cup is broken, you should be just the way you were when the other person's was broken. Transfer the same idea to larger matters. Someone else's child is dead, or his wife. There is no one would not say it's the lot of a human being. But when one's own dies, immediately it is, alas, poor me. But we should have remembered how we feel when we hear of the same things about others. 27. Just as a target is not set up to be missed, in the same way, nothing bad by nature happens in the world. 28. If someone turned your body over to any person who happened to meet you, you would be angry. But are you not ashamed that you turn over your own faculty of judgment, which is the mind basically, to whoever happens along, so that if he abuses you, it is upset and confused? 29. For each action, consider what leads up to it and what follows it, and approach it in the light of that. Otherwise, you will come to it enthusiastically at first, since you have not borne in mind of any what will happen next, but later, when difficulties turn up, you will give up disgracefully. You want to win an Olympic victory? I do too. By the gods, since that is a fine thing, but consider what leads up to it and what follows it, and undertake the action in the light of that. You must be disciplined, keep a strict diet, stay away from cakes, train according to a strict routine at a fixed time in heat and in cold, not drink cold water, not drink wine when you feel like it, and in general you must have turned yourself over to your trainer as to a doctor, and then in the contest dig in. Sometimes dislocate your hand, twist your ankle, swallow a lot of sand, sometimes be whipped, and after all that lose. Think about that, and then undertake training, if you want to. Otherwise, you will be behaving the way children do, who play wrestlers one time, gladiators another time, blow trumpets another time, then act a play. And this way you too are now an athlete, now a gladiator, then an orator, then a philosopher. Yet you are nothing wholeheartedly, but like a monkey you mimic each sight that you see, and one thing after another is to your taste, since you do not undertake a thing after considering it from every side, but only randomly and half-heartedly. In the same way, when some people watch a philosopher and hear one speaking like Euphrates, through after all, who can speak like him? They want to be philosophers themselves. Just you consider as a human being what sort of thing it is. Then inspect your own nature and whether you can bear it. You want to do in the pentathlon, or to wrestle. Look at your arms, your thighs. Inspect your loins. Different people are naturally suited for different things. Do you think that if you do those things, you can eat as you now do, drink as you now do, have the same likes and dislikes? You must go without sleep, put up with hardship, be away from your own people, be looked down on by a little slave boy, be laughed at by people who meet you, get the worst of it in everything, honor, public office, law courts, every little thing. Think about whether you want to exchange these things for tranquility, freedom, calm. If not, do not embrace philosophy. And do not, like children, be a philosopher at one time, later a tax collector, then an orator, then a procurator of the emperor. These things do not go together. You must be one person, either good or bad. You must either work on your ruling principle or work on externals. Practice the art either of what is inside of what is outside, or of what is outside. That is, play the role either of philosopher or of a non-philosopher. 30. Appropriate actions are in general measured by relationships. He is a father. That entails taking care of him, yielding to him in everything, putting up with him when he abuses you or strikes you. But he is a bad father. Does nature then determine that you have a good father? No, only that you have a father. My brother has done me wrong. Then keep your place in relation to him. Do not consider his action, but instead consider what you can do to bring your own faculty of choice into accord with nature. Another person will not do you harm unless you wish it. You will be harmed at just that time at which you take yourself to be harmed. In this way, then, you will discover the appropriate actions to expect from a neighbor, from a citizen, from a general, if you are in the habit of looking at relationships. 31. The most important aspect of piety toward the gods is certainly both to have correct beliefs about them, as beings that arrange the universe well and justly, and to set yourself to obey them and acquiesce. I can't even pronounce that, sorry. And everything that happens, and to follow it willingly as someone who as something brought to completion by the best judgment. For in this way you will never blame the gods or accuse them of neglecting you, and this piety is impossible unless you detach the good and the bad from what is not up to us and attach it exclusively to what is up to us. Because if you think that any of what that is not up to us is good or bad, then when you fail to get what you want and fall into what you do not want, you will be bound to blame and hate those who cause this. For every animal by nature flees and turns away from things that are harmful and from what causes them, and pursues and admires things that are beneficial and what causes them. There is, therefore, no way for a person who thinks he is being harmed to enjoy what he thinks he is harming him, just as it is impossible to enjoy the harm itself. Hence, a son even abuses his father when the father does not give him a share of things that he thinks are good. And thinking that being a tyrant was a good thing is what made enemies of Polynices and Ethiopus. This is why the farmer too abuses the gods and the sailor and the merchant and those who have lost their wives and children. For whatever someone's advantage lies, there he also shows piety. So whoever takes care to have desires and aversions, as one should also in the same instance takes care about being pious, and it is always appropriate to make libations and sacrifices, and give first fruits according to the custom of one's forefathers, in a manner that is pure, and neither slovenly nor careless, nor indeed cheaply, nor beyond one's means. 32. When you make use of fortune telling, remember that you do not know what will turn out and have gone to the fortune teller to find out. But if you really are a philosopher, you have gone already knowing what sort of thing it is. For if it is one of the things that is not up to us, it is bound to be neither good nor bad. Therefore do not bring desire or aversion to the fortune teller, and do not approach him trembling, but instead realizing that everything that turns out is indifferent, and nothing in relation to you. And whatever sort of thing it may be, you will be able to deal with it well, and no one will hinder that. So go confidently to the gods as advisors, and thereafter, when some particular advice has been given to you, remember who your advisors are, and whom you will be disregarding if you disobey. Approach fortune telling as Socrates thought a person should. In these cases where the whole consideration has reference to the outcome, and no resource is available from reason or another technique to find out about the matter. So when it is necessary to share danger with a friend or with your country, do not use fortune telling about whether you should share the danger, for if the fortune teller says that the omens are unfavorable, clearly death is signified, or the injury of a part of your body, or exile. but reason chooses to stand by your friend and to share danger with your country even under these conditions. For this reason pays attention to the greater fortune teller, Pythian Apollo, who threw out of the temple the man who did not help his brother when he was being murdered. 33. Set up right now a certain character and pattern for yourself, which you will preserve when you are by yourself, and when you are with people. Be silent for the most part, or say what you have to do in a few words. Speak rarely when the occasion requires speaking, but not about just any topic that comes up. Not about gladiators, horse races, athletes, eating or drinking, the things that always come up, and especially if it is about people. Talk without blaming or praising or comparing. Divert by your own talk, if you can, the talk of those with you to something appropriate. If you happen to be stranded among strangers, do not talk, do not laugh a great deal, or at a great many things, or unrestrainedly. Refuse to swear oaths, altogether if possible, or otherwise, as circumstances follow. Avoid banquets given by those outside philosophy. But if the appropriate occasion arises, take great care not to slide into their ways, since certainly if a person's companion is dirty, the person who spends time with him, even if he happens to be clean, is bound to become dirty too. Take what has to do with the body to the point of bare need, such as food, drink, clothing, household slaves, and cut out everything that is for reputation or luxury. As for sex, stay pure as far as possible before marriage. And if you have to do it, only what is allowable, but do not be angry or censorious toward those who do engage in it, and do not always be making an exhibition of the fact that you do not. If someone reports back to you that so and so is saying bad things about you, do not reply to them, but answer, obviously he didn't know my other bad characteristics, since otherwise he wouldn't just have mentioned these. For the most part, there is no need to go to public shows, but if ever the right occasion comes, do not show your concern to be for anything but yourself. That is to say, wish to have happen only what does happen, and for the person to win who actually does win, uh, since that way you will not be thwarted, but refrain completely from shouting or laughing at anyone or being very much caught up in it. After you leave, do not talk very much about what has happened, except what contributes to your own improvement, since what would show that the spectacle had impressed you. Do not go indiscriminately or readily to people's public lectures. But when you do, be on guard to be dignified and steady, and at the same time try not to be disagreeable. When you are about to meet someone, especially someone who seems to be distinguished, put to yourself the question, what would Socrates or Zeno have done in these circumstances? And you will not be at a loss as to how to deal with the occasion. When you go to see someone who is important, put to yourself the thought that you will not find him at home, that you will be shut out, that the door will be slammed, that he will pay no attention to you. If it is appropriate to go even under these conditions, go and put up with what happens, and never say to yourself, it wasn't worth all that, for that is the way of a non-philosopher, someone who is misled by externals. In your conversations, stay away from making frequent and long-winded mention of what you have done and the dangers that you have been in, since it is not as pleasant for others to hear about what has happened to you, as it is for you to remember your own dangers. Stay away from raising a laugh, since this manner easily slips vulgarity, and at the same time is liable to lessen your neighbor's respect for you. It is also risky to fall into foul language, so when anything like that occurs, if a good opportunity arises, go so far as to criticize the person who has done it, and otherwise by staying silent and blushing and frowning you will show that you are displeased by what has been said. 34. Whenever you encounter some kind of apparent pleasure, be on guard, as in the case of other appearances, not to be carried away by it, but let the thing wait for you, and allow yourself to delay. Then bring before your mind 2 times, both the time when you enjoy the pleasure and the time when after enjoying it, you later regret it and berate yourself. And set against these the way you will be pleased and will praise yourself if you refrain from it. But if the right occasion appears for you to undertake the action, pay attention so that you will not be overcome by its attractiveness and pleasantness and seductiveness, and set against it how much better it is to be conscious of having won this victory against it. 35. When you do something that you determine is to be done, never try not to be seen doing it. Even if most people are likely to think something bad about it, if you are not doing it rightly, avoid the act itself. If you are doing it rightly, why do you fear those who will criticize you wrongly? 36. Just as the propositions, it is day and it is night, have their full value when disjoined in it is day or it is night, but have negative values when conjoined, it is day and it is night. In the same way, granted that taking the larger portion has value for one's body, it has negative value for preserving the fellowship of a banquet in the way one should. So when you eat with another, remember not merely to see the value for your body of what lies in front of you, but also to preserve your respect for your host. 37. If you undertake some row beyond your capacity, you both disgrace yourself by taking it and also thereby neglect the row that you are unable to take. 38. Just as in walking about you pay attention so as to not step on a nail or twist your foot, pay attention in the same way so as not to harm your ruling principle. And if we are on guard about this in very action, we shall set about it more securely. 39. The measure of possessions for each person is the body, as the foot is of the shoe. So if you hold to this principle, you will preserve the measure. But if you step beyond it, you will in the end be carried as if over a cliff, just as in the case of the shoe. If you go beyond the foot, you will get a gilded shoe, and then a purple embroidered one. For there is no limit to a thing once it is beyond its measure. 40. Women are called ladies by men right after they are 14, and so when they see that they have nothing else except to go to bed with men, they begin to make themselves up and place all their hopes in that. It is therefore worthwhile to pay attention so that they are aware that they are honored for nothing other than appearing modest and self-respecting. 41. It shows lack of natural talent to spend time on what concerns the body, as in exercising a great deal, eating a great deal, drinking a great deal, moving one's bowels, or copulating a great deal. Instead, you must do things in passing, but turn your whole attention towards your faculty of judgment. 42. When someone acts badly towards you or speaks badly of you, remember that he does or says it in the belief that it is appropriate for him to do so. Accordingly, he cannot follow what appears to you, but only what appears to him, so that if things appear badly to him, he is harmed in as much as he has been deceived. For if someone thinks that a true conjunctive proposition is false, the conjunction is not harmed, but rather the one who is deceived. Starting from these considerations, you will be gentle with the person who abuses you, for you must say on each occasion, "That's how it seemed to him." 43. Everything has two handles, one by which it may be carried and the other not. If your brother acts unjustly toward you, do not take hold of it by the side, that he has acted unjustly, since this is the handle by which it may not be carried, but instead by this side, that he is your brother and was brought up with you, and you will be taking hold of it in the way that it can be carried. 44. These statements are not valid inferences. I am richer than you, therefore I am superior to you. Or I am more eloquent than you, therefore I am superior to you. But rather these are valid. I am richer than you, therefore my property is superior to yours. Or I am more eloquent than you, therefore my speaking is superior to yours. But you are identical neither with your property nor with your speaking. 45. Someone who takes a bath quickly, do not say that he does it badly, but that he does it quickly. Someone drinks a great deal of wine, do not say that he does it badly, but that he does a great deal of it. For until you have discerned what his judgment was, how do you know whether he did it badly? In this case, it will not turn out that you receive convincing appearances of some things, but give assent to it to quite different ones. 46. Never call yourself a philosopher, and do not talk a great deal among non-philosophers about philosophical propositions, but do what follows them. For example, at a banquet, do not say how a person ought to eat, but eat as a person ought to do. Remember that Socrates had so completely put aside ostentation that people actually went to him when they wanted to be introduced to philosophers, and he took them. He was tolerant of being overlooked, and if talk about philosophical propositions arises among non-philosophers, for the most part be silent, since there is a great danger of your spewing out what you might have not digested. And when someone says to you that you know nothing and you are not hurt by it, then you know that you are making a start at your task. Sheep do not show how much they have eaten by bringing the feed to the shepherds, but they digest the food inside themselves. And outside themselves they bear rule and milk. So in your case, likewise, do not display propositions to non-philosophers, but instead the actions that come from the propositions when they are digested. 47. When you have become adapted to living cheaply as far as your body is concerned, do not make a show of it, and if you drink water, do not say at every opening that you drink water. If you wish to train yourself to hardship, do it for yourself, and not for those outside. Do not throw your arms around statues. Instead, when you are terribly thirsty, take cold water into your mouth and spit it out, and do not tell anyone about it. 48. The position and character of a non-philosopher. He never looks for benefit or harm to come from himself, but from things outside. The position and character of a philosopher. He looks for all benefit and harm to come from himself. Signs of someone's making progress is he censures no one, he praises no one, he blames no one. He never talks about himself as a person who amounts to something or knows something. When he is thwarted or prevented in something, he accuses himself. And if someone praises him, he laughs to himself at the person who has praised him. And if someone censures him, he does not respond. He goes around like an invalid, careful not to move any of his parts that are healing before they have become firm. He has kept off all desire from himself, and he has transferred all aversion onto what is against nature. Among the things that are up to us, his impulses toward everything are diminished. If he seems foolish or ignorant, he does not care. In a single phrase, he is on guard against himself as an enemy lies in wait. 49. When someone acts grand because he understands and can expound the works of Chrysippus, and say to yourself, if Chrysippus had not written unclearly, this man would have nothing to be proud of. But what do I want? To learn to understand nature and follow it. So I try to find out who explains it, and I hear that Chrysippus does, and I go to him. But I do not understand the things that he has written, so I try to find the person who explains them. Up to this point, there is nothing grand. But when I do find someone who explains them, what remains is to carry out what has been conveyed to me. This alone is grand. But if I am impressed by the explaining itself, what have I done but ended up in a grammarian instead of a philosopher? Except that I am explaining Chrysippus instead of Homer. Instead, when someone says to me, "Read me some Chrysippus," I turn red when I cannot exhibit actions that are similar to his words and in harmony with them. 50. Abide by whatever task is set before you as if it were a law, and as if you would be committing sacrilege if you went against it. But pay no attention to whatever anyone says about you, since that falls outside what is yours. 51. How long do you put off thinking yourself worthy of the best things, and never going against the definitive capacity of reason? You have received the philosophical propositions that you ought to agree to, and you have agreed to them. then what sort of teacher are you still waiting for, that you put off improving yourself until he comes? You are not a boy anymore, but already a full-grown man. If you now neglect things and are lazy and are always making delay after delay and set one day after another as a day for paying attention to yourself, then without realizing it, you will make no progress, but will end up a non-philosopher all through life and death. So decide now that you are worthy of living as a full-grown man who is making progress, and make everything that seems best be a law that you cannot go against it. And if you meet with any hardship or anything pleasant or reputable or disreputable, then remember that the contest is now, and the Olympic Games are now, and you cannot put things off anymore, and that your progress is made or destroyed by a single day and a single action. Socrates became fully perfect in this way, by not paying attention to anything but his reason, and everything that he met with. You, even if you are not yet Socrates, ought to live as someone wanting to be Socrates. 52. The first and most necessary aspect of philosophy is that of dealing with philosophical propositions, such as not to hold to falsehood. The second is that of demonstrations. For example, must one not hold to falsehood? The third is that of the confirmation and articulation of these. For example, why is this a demonstration? What is a demonstration? What is demonstration? What is entailment? What is conflict? What is truth? What is falsity? Therefore, the third is necessary because of the second, and the second because of the first. But the most necessary, and the one where one must rest, is the first. We, however, do it backwards. Since we spend time in the third and all of our effort goes into it, and we neglect the first completely. Therefore, we hold to falsehood. But we are ready to explain how it is demonstrated that one must not hold to falsehood. 53. On every occasion, you must have these thoughts ready. Lead me, Zeus, and you too, Destiny. Wherever I am assigned by you, I'll follow and not hesitate. But even if I do not wish to, because I'm bad, I'll follow anyway. Whoever has complied well with necessity is counted wise by us, and understands divine affairs. Well, Crito, if it is pleasing to the gods this way, then let it happen this way. Anytus and Meletus can kill me, but they can't harm me. And that is the end of the Encheiridion by Epictetus. Thank you guys for hearing me out or watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's basically it. Bye bye.